We're now going to move on and learn how to obtain 95% confidence intervals, both for means and proportions, using Stata. You did these manually in the previous couple of weeks. We're going to start with the means, and in the following video, we're going to learn how to do it for proportions. Now, in the last couple of weeks, you learned how to calculate these confidence intervals manually, and you used this formula here. And you see here that you multiplied s over the square root of n by 1.96. Today, in Stata, you're going to instead find the answer because we're using t with 47 degrees of freedom rather than 1.96. The t with 47 degrees of freedom, the critical value for a 95% confidence interval, we got that out of this formula up here in the little blue box when we went to Stata and we used the DINVT command, and it came to 2.01. So we're going to multiply by 2.01 rather than 1.96 when we use Stata. In this formula here, you'll notice that I've used summarize the total cases if time is less than 49. That's because I only wanted to use the data up to day 48. I didn't want to include the data beyond that. That's just a little sideshow that's been going on here. Now, when you actually obtain the confidence interval using the different methods, if you were to do it manually using 1.96, you'd get 877 to 1485. And if you did it manually using 2.01, you'd get 869 to 1494. You see that using the value of t, the 2.01, rather than 1.96, gives you a wider and safer confidence interval. It's more likely to include the population parameter than the estimate using 1.96. Now, here are the commands when we use Stata. Again, I just remind you, I've got if time is less than 49 up here, because in this case, I wanted to only include the first 48 observations in my data set. And these are the summary measures that I have. I'll explain a little bit later why these become important. Now, you've got two options. You can either use the command mean, you can see it here, the very first one, or you can say CI mean. That's the other command. These are the two options you've got. You can either say mean, or you can say CI mean. The green bit is optional. You only need to put the green bit in if you want a different kind of confidence interval, such as a 90% or an 80% confidence interval. If you leave the green bit out, Stata will do the default, which is the 95% confidence interval. Since I can't imagine that you will ever want anything other than the 95% confidence interval, you can quite safely just forget about the green bits. It's optional in those rare cases where you want a different kind of confidence interval. Now for the mean command, you simply type mean, and then you put the name of the variable. In this case, the variable is called total cases. And you'll get the confidence interval, the 95%. You can use this other command, CI, for confidence interval, mean total cases. It'll give you exactly the same answer. This third command is the one that you use when you actually don't have data loaded in Stata. So you want an immediate command, you're going to go and give Stata the numbers. And so you're first going to give n, the sample size. Then you give the mean, which we know to be 1181.375. And then you give the standard deviation, which we know to be 1075.819. And in this case, it will give you exactly the same answer because I obtained these results from the same data set. It doesn't matter which one you use. Obviously, sometimes you won't have the data loaded, and therefore you'll have to resort to the CII, the immediate command. Right, I'm going to demonstrate this to you now in Stata. Right, so here we are in Stata. You can see that I have opened the COVID-19 data set. Here you can see the variables listed on the right up in that panel. I'm going to just show you that in actual fact, by the time we've gone way past, right down to about day 58, but in my analysis, I only want to include up to and including day 47. So in all my commands, I'm going to type in the command if time less than 48. Right, now the first command we learned was mean. You can just type in mean, very simple. Remember again, no capital letters. And I'm going to put the name of the variable, which is new cases. And then I'm going to say if time less than 48, because in this case, I only want to include up to and including day 47. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to type anything else. Just press enter, and there you have the 95% confidence interval for the average number of new cases. What could be simpler? Now, there's an alternative command, and this one actually is used more often for some reason, but it'll give you the same result. You say CI mean, or means, doesn't matter, telling Stata you want the confidence interval for means, and then again you say new cases, and because I only want up to day 47, I'm going to say if time less than 48. And you see that it gives you exactly the same answer. So you can use either of these methods. It really doesn't matter which one you use. If you must use the immediate command, then you just put CII, means, and you put in there the number of observations, the mean, and the standard deviation, and it will also give you the same answer.